Hello? Organic portals and hyperdimensional attacks. So, these are some of my other video ideas. I just shot this one. Have a look on my channel under the playlist Organic Portals Legacy List. That's a playlist on my YouTube, this YouTube channel. I do allow people to share my videos, and thanks for the several channels on YouTube which I'm now seeing, I didn't see before, sharing my videos. So thanks, big ups. I still think to create this new world, this is kind of what you have to do. You have to get over your own ego, and if someone else can, I don't know, do it better than you, or if someone else can just do it when you can't do it, maybe you don't even have the time, then you empower them if they're, you know, I don't know, like me trying to create the new world, you know? Abundance, enlightenment and freedom, food plants everywhere. So instead of the ornamental mental plant on the way to the shop, it's a big mango tree. Oh wow, I don't even have to go to the shop now. Pretty cool. Oh look, an avocado tree across the road. Ah, let's go to the shop tomorrow, we would then say. So please help me at consciousazine.net try to create food plant abundance world while they are trying to create hell on earth, impoverishment everywhere. It's pretty simple. Plants grow. You plant, plant grow. Plant a plant that grow with food. Very simple stuff. Let's get into the heavier stuff now. I might lose some of you. Sorry. But it is pretty obvious, you know, you put a plant in the ground, it grows. Oh wait, it can be a food plant even. So, you know, everybody's out there whinging. Plant some more food plants then. Stop whinging. Anyway, so let's get into organic portals and hyperdimensional attacks. And seriously, let's not all revert to Liberian conditions where we just be so ignorant to the end state of cannibalism. That's what's going on there in West Point in Liberia in Africa, yeah? That's like the end case scenario of Neolithic Dark Age, which, you know, the elites and all that are trying to basically put humanity into now. So how about you vote the other way? Hemp, bamboo, people like Benjamin Cowlenberg, sounds a little bit better to me than cannibalism. Fuck. Alright, let's get into the heavier stuff now. Yes, I'm able to talk about dimensions, so I've had a look again on the YouTube search and thought about SEO, search engine optimization, and this, and I saw this, and I saw this. These top three here were search, like when I just typed in organic portals, it said hyperdimensional attacks, said other races, and explained, like this in the search engine on YouTube, in the search function. And so I thought, okay, I'll do videos on them because people are searching for these videos. So I'm trying to even just help random humanity people, you know, so a little bit of energy back in the form of donations would be really appreciated, because then I can do it better. I'm just going to leave it that simple, because then I can do it better in all ways, shapes and forms. Better video, probably even better voice recorder, everything, yeah? We can plant 10 mango trees instead of one. There you go. So support me. Anyway, I'm planning to do this for the whole apocalypse, while, you know, half you all out there are walking yourself into self-destruction. Pretty sure I'll get seen as the light I am pretty soon. Dumb shits. Anyway. So, hyperdimensional attacks. This is just another search term I saw in the YouTube search. Well, I thought I can deal with that. I can talk about hyperdimensional stuff. Suffice to, you know, save a real, you know, definition of dimensions, and let's skedoodle past that, please. let's just assume that you realize I'm not talking simply like the scientific definitions of dimensions, 1 dimension, 2 dimension, and then you got the 3rd dimension. No, we are talking, these spiritual hippie dimensions. And this is basically what I always talk around as a sort of 12D model or a 10D sort of matrix model. And, this is how physical density is created. That's the best way, the simplest way I can put it. The dimensions I always discuss are kind of like layers of manifestation of light, freezing into density, basically, or creating physical reality out of non-stuff or thought stuff or whatever have you. Whatever suits your need of explanation. I think you know what I'm talking about now. So they're the type of dimensions that I talk about and discuss in all of my videos, not the scientific dimensions that some of you might be used to. So this is completely different. When I say 2nd dimension, I do not mean a line down. I mean the physical hard edge of the frozen reality. It's the 2nd dimension. It is the domain of things made out of stuff, and the domain of like the variety that we can create, the little molecules and the little particles that join together to create stuff, fun stuff and things, So these are the dimensions I'm discussing, and then we say the 3rd dimension is like, well, this is the best explanation. This is all in my wording in the end now, because I've assimilated from different sources over time how to talk about this stuff. Because I was always very interested, because I could see there was a multi-dimensional reality, and that I'm not just the surface body, the organic portal body. I'm not just that. I knew I was some kind of like a spirit in a human body suit, or whatever you want to say. So in the 3rd dimension, it's not just like a cross-section. That's more like the 2nd dimension, but because I've heard people say the 3rd dimension is like a cross-section. No, I think that's a bad way to explain it, or just a haphazard way to explain it, or not very clear way to explain it. I think it's better to say the 3rd dimension is a zonal reality. It's a zonal reality, and I always explain it like, just think of a ball where all these intangible energies float into. It's your cell has its own life path. It is its 3rd dimensional zonal reality. It's got a perspective from an ego point. It's a separated point of sovereign consciousness, a seed point of individual ego consciousness, right? This is 3rd dimensional. You're like in your life bubble. Maybe that makes more sense. Your cell has its little life bubble where perhaps the cell in your toe doesn't walk around to the cell in your eyeball every day and shake its hand. You're not going to see everybody in the world in your life. You have your zonal reality, your perspective, I think we could call that, right? That's the 3rd dimension, and the 3rd dimension in another way, because it's not just layers of manifestations of light that these dimensions are, they are also worlds within worlds with beingness or beings in them. Whereas we might say, moreover, that the aeon is a type of entity, and a real type of, I don't want to say ET extraterrestrial, because it's not terrestrial, but a type of alien. So anyway, let's reel back the conversation a bit to the dimensions. Then your 4th dimension, in a layer of manifestation of light sort of connotation, is the emotionality and emotion, energy motion, emotional dimension, where you take on a 4th dimensional feeling body, which is what humanity is now doing, and that's why we're going through crises or catharsis. And we have, millions of people, billions of people on the move and impoverished and in pain. And, that's to make us, it's to force humanity into taking on a feeling body. Then we're going to become very telepathic, and that's fifth dimensional light body related, and that's where you just know everyone else's motives, because there are certain sixth dimensional grids of experience. If you're a surfer, you wear surf wear. If you're a skater, you wear skate wear. It's a grid of experience. Do you understand? Now it connects to the third dimensional zonal reality of your life. So this sixth dimensional grid of experience is something we've been shifting the energy out of all the grids. That's something we've been doing at the Eschaton as system busting, indigo, hyperdimensional beings, spirited humans. And they stick to grids of experience, the organic portals, like flies on flypaper. They stick to resonances. They think they are that resonance. No, the resonance just is meant to come through you, and you're meant to keep moving, not become the resonance. Don't become the thing. And now you see also why organic portals become physical second dimensional things, and treat inanimate objects better than real live people, so to speak, So anyway, back to the dimensional stuff. So we have these different dimensions, but these are all from the fifth dimension and even the fourth. Inward, onward, inward, inward, in you, inward, onward, and upward. Upward dimensionally speaking, as you go up. Now, physical creation and density is created down dimensionally through one-way flow valves. And each dimension acts, each second dimension acts as like a love dimension, and each first dimension like a light grid dimension. So there's many facets to understanding the dimensions, and I'm not making all this video just about that, because I'm trying to make this video help you understand dimensionality in the context of something, and that's the organic portal theme. How some people are empty inside, or dead inside, or kind of real zombies, but I don't want to go too far on that end, because some organic portals people, they don't act like zombies necessarily, because they've become very good at mimicking. I shouldn't have to always go through all the organic portal behaviors in every video, but mimicking, when you learn about the theory of organic portals, you realize they mimic souled humans' higher chakric energies. So your higher centers and your higher chakras, all the energies are scintillating out of you, they mimic that. So say you have a pain in a part of the body, they can scratch that part of the body and mimic you, where your pain is coming out of your body. Stuff like that. We've learnt this over time. It's because they are just like the reflective surface, you see. That's what the organic portals are only made out of, the reflective surface, crude electrical light. Now there's not much difference between photons and electrons, just a little bit of energy state difference, there's not that much difference between them. When I talk about higher dimensional light, I'm talking about numinous, not phenomenous physical light, crude electrical light. I'm talking about numinous, the sort of feeling of a higher light, more like air, less like water, less thick, Electricity is more like the denser water, and higher light, like seventh dimensional Reiki rays, are like more like airy. They feel more airy and lighter. And so there's a big difference, and I remember people saying that they think people are made out of denser stuff than them. I remember Terence McKenna saying, I think they're made out of denser stuff than us. No, he never ever mentioned the word organic portals. He was just talking about dumb people. You should look back through his lectures. Check it out. And, the surface area of ignorance, which is necessarily growing larger of or about any sphere of understanding which is in expansion. To murder another quote of his brother. So, organic portals and hyperdimensional attacks. Well, they attack fourth dimension. Okay, hello, I'm back. the recording cut out. So let's continue. Where was I? I was just about to start talking about their hyperdimensional attacks to make it very relevant to the search term. Sorry. Alright. Hyperdimensional attacks. So the hyperdimensional attacks that organic portals do. Well, I said before that they sort of only really make it to third dimensional seed point of sovereignty consciousness, the ego point of consciousness, if we can call it that. That's the best they do, because an organic portal is, you know, inherently part of a 2D flatland. Anybody? 2D group soul is what the organic portal is part of. So, you know, like I made a video a year ago, awakening, organic portals awakening or die emotional feelings, because I understand humanity is now moving to accepting a feeling body, and this is fourth dimensional related before a fifth dimensional light body is, you know, properly able to be instilled. And you know, this is why they spy on us so much. Our motives are not known, you know, to them. They might think we have bad motives for ripping down the sick society, and then leave out that it's sick. So maybe what we're doing isn't so bad after all. Maybe we're doing it for a reason, to rebuild it much better. Anyway, so, you know, organic portals, they just don't have the ability to see things the way that we see things as spirited humans, in much more complex contexts. And they seem to leave out really large universal axioms like that there is a flow of, you know, light called evolution, you know, and stuff like this. So, you know, not everybody who's anti-evolution or so on, there's a little point, not everybody who's anti-evolution or anti-spiritual is an organic portal. Some people really are just asleep still, you know, and they didn't even get anything from the timeline awakening of 2012, this timeline awakening at the end of history. Hey, it's the end. Ring, 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 you know. Like Rumi said, you know, what you are seeking is also seeking you, and he means, you know, this very complex, that's a great way to make this very hyperdimensional context of light body impingement or light body installation, to say what you are looking for is looking for you. That's a great way to make it very, very simple. But he's talking about, you know, the man and the goddess have now exchanged energies at the end of history. The goddess being the planet, yeah. So it's pretty interesting. You know, organic portals are not in energy working. They're never going to be doing actual light work. They're only ever part of the false light control matrix, and that's deeper than being explained by, I think, even me. I don't think I even fully explained it. But even to the point that lutein is taken out of your eyes from, you know, the light on the street, and your night vision ruined, and all the unnatural stuff, all the miasmas of society, in the context of anything in the context of light. It's all stuffed up and corrupted, mate. Anyway, I don't want to get into it. So, you know, and they're part of a false control grid, which they are always like thinking is, you know, it's like a sham of the real light people, of the real light workers, and people like me, you know, who are always about information and information. It's forming. And they are really less than this, and I mean, not to say they're a subspecies, but damn, I did just shoot this video other race. But, you know, they always work as a Black Alliance methodology works to create a slower, harder, denser reality, and it's all about control and stuff, right? Control psychopathy or psychopathy, and they learn from us, and that's why they mimic, you know, because they're unconscious, but they also mimic because they're in the formation of learning it experientially via your light coding, yeah? So via your natural movement, they copy your movement, you know, but it's a copy of your movement, but at the same time they are learning it to some degree because, you know, they flow it through their body, and then you see it as a reflector mimic event where they've reflected one of your higher centers or something, you know. So yes, they're our teachers in a way as well. I'm going to make those videos. There is an existing video out there on YouTube. I forgot what channel, maybe Reincarnation Aborted is the channel name on YouTube. Organic portals are our true teachers, that video. Interesting perspective, and I'm going to add to it. Anyway, back to hyperdimensional attacks. So, you know, they're not capable of hyperdimensional attack. They're surface people. I mean, obviously I can talk about this 100 different ways, but I think I've talked about it enough. You get the point. If you don't, check out some other videos, and in the future I'll bring different viewpoints in every time. I'll try. But, you know, basically they're surface body people, and their insides are missing. It's where all this mysterious stuff goes on, you know. The real cosmic casuistry is on the inside. I think you'll have to agree from your own experience. Everything happening on the surface seems quite superfluous, and, you know, any change in any system ultimately starts with one node going through a phase state change of some sort, and group decisions come later. And I did make a video that, you know, group matrix hive mind think, or in groups human brains shrink. So, you know, these people are not like, they don't have the universe thrusting through them the same way as a souled human or a spirited human. And they very much just talk with other people's thoughts only, and it's like there is no real self-experience, and if there is, it's very shallow and only egoic. There'll never be any higher knowledge or higher consciousness thrust in the conversation, for instance, okay? They don't have that higher knowing aspect on anything, or nothing, you know, so it's not hard to detect them these days, because with the internet now, we're all getting fairly, you know, complex, you know, in our rigmarole, except the organic portals, they don't. They're stayed back there in that 90s resonance of the 90s, the 1990s, remember? When we were crawling to the end? And we just got over the line. Oh, the internet, we're back up on our feet and walking again. So, anyway, back to hyperdimensional attacks. They can't do it, right, in the end. That's the story. No hyperdimensional attacks. It's what's coming through them that's doing the hyperdimensional attacks. It's not them as a body doing it. That's what I want to make very distinct. So all that was just to make that very distinct point. Pause for effect. What was the point again? It's okay, you're only human. It slips my mind sometimes too. The point was that it's not the organic portal bodies who are doing hyperdimensional attacks, it's the demons coming through them. Okay, so now let's talk to these people, like talk about this. You know, these people like Gurdjieff, which were like I don't know, founders of this theory of organic portals. Really, some of the first people to really make a fuss about it, you might say. You don't say, oh, organic portals is like this new age created bullwhippy. That's called ignorance. Anyway, so it's the demons, or what Gurdjieff called the vital realm thingos, you know. I forgot what word he used for it, the vital realm entities, I'm pretty sure he called them. So, you know, and that sounds awfully like a synonymous description of a demon, doesn't it? A vital entity, like vital energy entities, and when you start talking about that, people, well, in my mind, I see, you know, ghosts, spirits, and blah blah blah. All this sort of stuff starts to come to mind. So that's what we're talking about, vital realm, so to speak, or hyper or upper dimensional and lower dimensional, I think. Pardon me, and lower dimensional, I think, entities. Now, I don't want to yet talk about how I think ghosts may be first dimensional. Either that or fourth dimensional. I don't want to get into that right now. I still have to develop the language surrounding that to talk about it. But one thing is for sure, you get these demons which, look, suffice to say that they have higher dimensional maneuverability, hyperdimensional, sorry, not higher dimensional, but hyperdimensional maneuverability. And that's from, you know, the grey aliens all the way to like Yahweh virus being like a 8th dimensional octopus type virus, where when you see things psychedelically, it's, you know, language displayed as a picture in it. You got to learn how to make sense of vision and stuff. It's difficult even for shamans. So when we discuss like the 8th dimensional sort of entity like the Yahweh virus, it's a depiction of an idea, is what you've got to understand. It's not an actual octopus, but that's the hyperdimensional language that the universe is displaying it as, because that's familiar to the human brain. Multiple arms working multiple things. And, you know, one of these secret societies is like that. But let's not get into the secret societies, but they're like that. There's not all of them, but there's a secret society who's like octopi. Like even Illuminati has that energy where they are in the Masons, they are in other, you know, secret societies, and they have a sort of octopus-like nature. Well, now we're talking about like a virus at the 8th dimensional code coordination dimension hypercube, sort of sitting on that hypercube trying to figure out how to go 9th dimensionally and up, but it can't, because it has some sort of tie to being in these lower or mid dimensions where they are like a thought form. Really, that's what these things are. They're like a thought form, and that's not to say that it's not real. You've got to get away from the concept, which is a very organic portal concept, of the surface of reality, or the second dimension, being all there is. That the case where they seem to think that everything is what it seems to be, physical, dense stuff, and then that's what there is and that's it. You see, they don't have even a hyperdimensional understanding at all. The best they can contrive is a Star Trek notion where you grip onto a substrate of reality that's just less visible. You know, so that's as deep as they dimensionally can think, even. So they can't even think about the things I'm just discussing and how the Yahweh virus could be holding them down, or have one of its tentacles attached to the crown chakra even, and that's already for a spiritual person if you're talking chakras. So, you know, organic portals don't commit hyperdimensional attacks, but the entities in them. So my advice would be then, how to stop hyperdimensional attacks. You could make a whole nother video, and I probably will. But how to stop hyperdimensional attacks at the face value or at first notice is, you know, research it. Research these demons then. If they're the one doing it, what the hell is a demon? And just looking into it all, right? And that's how you're going to have to start. So tune in for video 2, where I explain how to stop hyperdimensional attacks.
consciousazine.com chronicles.